Hello, Iman. Thank you for joining me at this podcast. Actually, you're doing something very interesting, which you help parents find a good school for the kids. And to be honest, I have never met a person that does this. Usually, universities you can find, institutes, colleges you can find, but schools, like usually there are no someone who you can go ask them what good school, where to go to, and so how do you do it?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Mansur, for inviting me to the podcast. So yeah, I think the term that you're looking for is educational consultant, but specifically for international schools, they may not be as many people who are doing this in Malaysia. So basically how I help my clients, the parents who are looking to send their kids to international schools, is the first step usually would be the consultation. So I'd have a first call or meeting with them, getting to know their priorities better. Some of them are expats, but of course I'm also happy to help local parents, Malaysian parents who are sending their kids to international schools. So usually at the first stage, parents would have many questions. Some parents have more information, have more clarity. They're much more familiar with some schools. Maybe their friends have sent their kids to the same schools, but still what would be most suitable for their own child or children, that would need to have a much more like a deeper conversation. So usually I would ask them a little bit more about their children, what are their interests. Some children would have shown that quite early. Some children may be a little bit passive, and you need to ask more questions, right, to get to know them better, because these things would really help the parents to determine which curriculum would be best if they haven't sent their kids to another school yet. Otherwise, you just want to choose the same curriculum, right? So usually after that, I would give them a short list of the best schools here in Malaysia and the references as well. So the brochures and the location and all that, so for them to have a review based on what they shared with me, these are the best for them. So at that stage, once they have reviewed it, I would want to hear back from them, what do they think about it so far before we arrange a school tour, where they will meet the academic team as well from the schools that they choose. It could be one, it could be more as a backup. So usually at that phase, they would have more idea about what they could expect if they send their kids to the school that they have visited, right? So ideally, we would want the parents to be physically present. Let's say they're not here yet in Malaysia. If they can make a trip here, that would be great. But let's say their schedules, their circumstances don't really allow it. Most schools I would say all schools are open for virtual tour, virtual interviews. So at that stage, we could, before application, usually for the application stage, there would be an interview with the family together with the children. But usually before they start to apply, before they start to upload all the documents and all that, I would want them to really look at the fees, right? So look at the expenses, the entire expenses, not just at the entry phase, but look at the whole year and then the second year and so on, especially if they're sending more than one child to the same school, right? So usually I would ask my client if they want to speak to a financial advisor. Some financial advisors, they also have kids they send to the same schools or to other international schools here, or they have helped clients in the same situation. So that could really help them see the long-term the whole expenses that they're going to be paying for before they reach that, right? So when we have an expert involved, I could follow up with the advisor, I could follow up with the parents, and then that would give the parents ample time to prepare financially and that kind of thing. So some parents, they're scared, to face like hidden fees, like you mentioned before, right? But these things, if you have, enough people, the right people helping you out and clarity, so you would have better questions to ask the schools as well. So the more information that you have, the more that you could work out a plan before you start signing up for it, right? So let's say they have gone past that stage and they are prepared. Usually the application stage would require to send all the regular documents, right? Sometimes they would require school reports as well if they are transferring. So that could look like the last exams and all that. And then usually at the application stage, they would require a cognitive ability test. So they would want to know the child's current performance and the best learning styles, how they could help the students best.
Yeah. So if we want to make it short or simple, you are a consultant for the parents.
Yes.
You are an independent. You don't represent any specific school
Exactly.
or any school. So you try to find the best for the parents.
Yes.
Yeah, guide them through the process, what they need to do, what they need to know, how to know, and the whole, because me as a parent also, I faced the same issue when I wanted to admit my schools in my kids in a specific school. Like there are a lot of steps that I need to do. I need to look. I need to see. I need to observe. So and mostly as a person who's a consultant that works in this field, you have for sure you have more data and more information than any parent. Okay, that's why like you work with the parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way that I approach it is as a professional, I don't have a bias, right? If I don't have any family members who are going to international schools, but I get in touch with them to help parents ask the right questions, and sometimes some questions they may not have thought of themselves, but working as a professional in between the parents and the schools, some questions can be really helpful for the schools as well. So, and because I don't have a bias towards any school. So whatever that's best for the parents, then we will try to work it out with the schools. Some schools are open to, they would update me about the latest discounts that they have and that kind of thing. Well, I wouldn't really want to give an impression that it's always going to be that, because sometimes it changes by time, by season. But if the parents also need someone to help them negotiate the best offer and that kind of thing, right? That is something I could help with as well. I've helped people for negotiations.
So let's say if someone, a parent, go through you in the admission phase, and if they had any issues later on the year, can they contact you also for you to resolve the issues in any way?
Yep. So the way that I work things out is that I don't stop at application. So upon successful application, I would follow up. So I would want to know like how they've been, doing at the school and that kind of thing. So sometimes they have, like other siblings that their parents may want to send, or their friends, right, who have kids that they want to send. So I'll be very happy to keep in touch with their parents. So if there is any issue, right, sometimes it could get worse between parents and teachers, right? Sometimes you don't know, like any problems that you haven't anticipated. Sometimes it could be external, not even from the environment, from the school or from family. It could be external. We always come across like new problems that came from technology, social media, that kind of thing. So yeah, these things can be very challenging, right, for everyone, especially for parents. So these things, right, like usually if they have a third person who's a professional can help them with this, it can ease things better, and we can prevent things from getting worse. The communication, I could help with that. But usually, from how I see things so far, I would say that I have so much confidence in the international schools in Malaysia because of the programs that they offer.
Yeah.
Right. So I think when things are very subjective, if different parents have different approach to parenting, to education, but because they have a very good system, good programs that help the students to develop all these skills, to be around other kids, to be kind to other kids, and then they also have programs for leadership. So they have like
It depends on the school and the curriculum, right? Not all the schools.
Yes, depends. But I would say there is more than one school that offers that kind of program, the leadership programs, where every kid can have an opportunity to practice their leadership skills. So not just one kid or the top students are seen as leaders. So every kid get the chance to lead their team, how they speak to their team members, and then how to follow instructions, how to respect the leader, that kind of thing. So they have all of this integrated. Outside of the curriculum. So if you look at schools like Regate, right, they have a British curriculum is more suitable for kids who are whose parents or the kids themselves are interested in niche subject, or if they already show interest in, for example, science. So some kids are naturally gravitated towards the subjects under the sciences or technology and whatnot. So a British curriculum, they would provide that kind of like niche pathway, and then following that easier pathway to their universities. But if you look at IB curriculum, it gives more like what they call inquiry-based learning. The kids get to ask a lot of questions, more project-based. So in a way, like for curriculum that is more like textbook focused, more theory focused, they give like programs that sort of complement that. So they can also develop their like people skills, all of these things that are that go beyond like textbook, outside of the curriculum. So they have co-curricular programs to help put that balance. And as for IB, it's more, the approach is quite different. So
interesting, because like I think the activities that happens in the school is very important for the schools, the kids learning. It's not about only the subjects, like you just mentioned, leadership and how to talk, how to act, all that. There are a lot of, what do you call it, extracurriculum? Is it extracurriculum?
Extracurriculum or co-curricular.
This word, like these activities that the school does, like I don't want to name the school that my kids are in, but they have like the Young Traders Day, okay, where it's one day all the school kids, they go into like they set up their own shop and they sell for other kids, okay, and like my kids plan for this for the next year, that's how excited they are. They go into Shopee, they see how much is that and how much is that, and they, so it's develop
entrepreneurial.
And not only entrepreneurial, also the value of things. Like, okay, if you buy this, you sell this. Like, how can I teach my kids this if they are going to school? Like I cannot take them like in the weekends we go and sell mama at the side of the road. Like it's not like that. Like that's it. The school's environment is a place where they learn the things that they need to learn if they were not in this school. Not only learning learning like lessons, like math and all that. Not that. There are more other. I think now with the AI and the developments that are happening, the skills that is being developed in the kids is more important than the lessons that they will learn in the school.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned AI and technology, because I've come across very different opinions, different perspectives from parents when it comes to technology and AI. So for adults, mostly we are at the receiving end where things are being more efficient, right, for businesses and all that. But for a while, I would say, like for myself, for a few years, I haven't really considered how it's like for kids, because we're not developing, right? We are looking at it from business perspective. But I want to share with you this if you want to include that later. What's the name? There is this study by Dr. Let me see. If you want to look at this later. The neuroscientists. So this study shows that because Gen Z's overall, obviously not every Gen Z, but the overall performance by Gen Zs are declining. There's a sharp cognitive decline in the newer generations because of the exposure to screens, right? So this one.
I don't think it's a decline in their cognitive. What do you say?
Development.
I don't think it's a decline in the cognitive development. I think the Gen Z they cannot function in the world that our parents or the previous generation built. Okay, that's why people look at them as the lost generation or
transitional
or the stupid generation. Like the lazy generation. But I think the matter of fact they are not built for the old system. They are built for the new world. Okay, but the new world haven't not begun yet.
It hasn't.
Because if you want to talk about the new world and how the businesses are going and how to me as a business owner and an entrepreneur, like I'm witnessing the transition of wealth and business owning in the world through the generations now. Like the other day I was thinking, if we took like let's say a 60 or 70-year-old millionaire who made his money, let's say 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and we took all the money from him and put him now, I doubt that he can make his money back in the current situation and in the current economy that we have. But put a Gen Z and put a what do you call baby boomers?
The older ones.
Let's say the baby boomers. Are they baby boomers all around the world or only in America? No, I'm asking you. Are they baby boomers all around the world or only in America?
All around the world.
All around the world, okay. Strip them from everything and put them in this like this. The baby boomer, he will go depressed, he will go homeless. But the Gen Z, he will do okay and he will build up.
Because they have already
they know
adapted.
They can adapt quickly with the changes with the new world. Not a lot, but like you see the big companies and the big capitals and they are having a very hard time now to upgrade their wealth or like grow their wealth. They are all, most of them, they're going bankrupt or like losing their money or losing their assets because they are not able to adapt. We're going off course now.
It's okay. This is actually a very important topic. So I'll just mention briefly, if you want to include this later, a study by Dr. Jared Horvath. So basically, they're showing there's a high number of students who are showing cognitive decline. But yeah, as you mentioned, the students who get to adapt and the parents who do limit and control, and teachers as well, technology and how they use it, then they will show a higher level of like obtaining what they're learning and all that. They learn faster because they get to do research better, they get to be more creative, they get to test their own thinking, they get to do metacognition a lot better, right, with AI and stuff like that. So it really depends on how in touch are the adults with how they let their kids or the students that they're taking care of use the technologies, right? I think the research, the studies that showed the cognitive decline by some Gen Zs, I think these are the kind of situation where things are unmonitored and people don't realize that they're using too much. They're being exposed to screens more than they should have. Because previously, I remember parents just give tablets, give iPads, phones to children, and they don't realize that children would hold their phones like this if it go unmonitored, right? So that that could affect their vision, it could affect how they think, and especially if they're abandoned, they're left to their own devices, and there's not enough conversations between the parents and the child. So I think, but I also agree with you how Gen Zs are really, some of them who are really doing their research on things, they are very smart, they're very reliable, and they have all the tools and they use it.
Definitely they are smarter than the previous generation.
Even millennial, like sometimes I depend on my younger sister for information as well, because they have all the tools and they know how to use it. So
they see us as stupid. Like they see us as stupid,
Depends on the context, right? Some maybe in some areas,
it's always this, like
context.
The previous generation saw our generation as a stupid generation, and our generation is seeing the next generation as a stupid generation. It's something that goes, but at the end, the next generation is always a better generation.
It should be like
to
that,
be honest.
Right? So and to tie it back to our discussion on international schools, I love that they do give the students a lot of space to focus, because what I'm also seeing in the younger generations, I've heard from parents who have kids who are struggling with, and not just from parents but from teachers. My teacher friends are telling me that their students can no longer focus compared to previous years. So that means older kids who are slightly older than them. So comparing like Gen Alpha to Gen Zs. So Gen Zs have some attention span problems, and then Gen Alpha has it worse.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is what most teachers are saying. But for international school, because they have their system, it helps students with focus, because the students are more busy with all these programs that they have. So their priorities would be to make sure that they complete all these tasks, and once they have completed this, and then they have all these extracurricular tasks that enable them to speak with their peers and how to speak properly. So because they have all these programs that allow them to think, they don't have as much time to their phones and the tablets. So even if they use it, they will use it to complete those tasks that are more important. So I think that's when like values and culture can be quite weak, right? If it's not integrated within a stronger structure, and that's what the international schools are doing. They have very strong structures that keep a very strong culture in place. So even though like there can be any problems that came from like tech companies and whatnot, we all see the news, right? The things that parents are concerned about. But when you send your kids to international schools, they don't have much time to. Sometimes they don't even know those are happening because their kids are not using those apps and those phones. And even if they have phones, this is going to be something more distant to them. So they're not exposed to those.
Yeah, to be honest, they know how to use the phone also because they are educated. Maybe Gen Z were not educated regarding the phone.
We don't know yet what we have.
And the harmful of the phones and all that. But the Gen Alpha, they already have the idea. Like my kids,
because they see what's happening.
Yeah, my kids, when I use my phone, you know what they tell me? They tell me, Baba, stop rotting your brain.
they're the one who's saying you're rotting your brain.
Yeah. So they tell me that don't rot your brain. I tell, okay, thank you. Like I didn't know that iPhone had a timer when they see a screen time
That's good. That's
on
good. If
each
they're
app.
aware. Okay.
So at the end of the week, they always go in and they look at my screen time and they say, today you rotted your brain.
That's true. I think I see the same thing happen with my parents. They can be glued to their phones, and they're the older generation. So I think this can happen to anyone now because we don't know what it's doing to us yet. And I think the Gen Zs who are like who end up in this like studies, right? Maybe it could be a long phase where people don't know the effects of it. Yeah, like smoking, right? Like people who were smoking in the 50s, they don't know what it's doing to their lungs.
They're still alive.
Kind of I mean the ones who are like vaping, that kind of thing. So something because it's still new, I think.
And the generation who are vaping are dying, So I think vaping is much more harmful than smoking.
Yeah, and some of them are showing signs of it's like zombie-like.
Who?
Have you seen like
the new generation or the?
I've seen this on the news once. I don't know how old she was, but they were showing signs that they were. I don't know because they vape too much.
Yeah, vaping is bad.
Yeah, it's scary because it's like higher nicotine and all that.
Yeah. So what type of schools is there, let's say in Malaysia?
Okay. So we have public schools, the ones that are government funded, and then we have private schools and international schools, right? So international schools are private schools, but the difference is the exams that they will have by the end of the school year, like before they grad.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have heard of SPM, the exam that SPM or SPM is the exam that the public school system uses, the educational system that follows the Malaysian government. So private schools use SPM. So these are for students who are going to local universities and for students from families that want to send them to like global universities. International schools would allow a much better pathway to transition to those universities. So they even have like counselors that would help them prepare and develop all the skills needed for those universities, like international universities. So if they already have been enrolled in like a British curriculum, and they would have IGCSE or like whatever the A levels or whatever it is that is required for the application for the university later. So that would help them with that. If they went to a private school in Malaysia and they follow and then they sit for SPM, it will not be transferable, right? They could take an A level and that kind of thing. So it depends on what they want after they have finished school. So if they're looking for local university or global university.
So they pick based on what they want after they finish school.
Yes, I would say that.
What about the like all the things that happens inside the school? What if the school that they think like, is it a factor? Like, do parents really choose the school based on the university that they want to go to afterwards?
I wouldn't
is that like
say
a factor that most of them choose schools on, or?
Okay, there is a difference between the fees. So the most expensive would be the international schools, and the middle one would be the private schools. So some parents, they don't want to send their kids to public schools, they want to send to international schools, but they think they're on a budget, so they send to private schools. But sometimes you never know your budget until you speak to an advisor or if you have planned ahead, especially if you plan for their entire education when they are still 6 years old or younger, right? So then you may not know what your best option can be. But private schools, usually it's much smaller. So maybe for some parents who want to have like a much smaller environment for their kids. But I work mostly with international schools, and the programs are much more recognized, universally recognized, and it's much more. They have connections with like schools like Regate and the ones that Charterhouse, and they have a branch here. So it's much easier for you to get in touch with the entire organization and the connections and all that. So private schools are much more like. Some of them, they have European curriculum, so it's much more, it's not as popular, but some parents just trust it. So if they want to enroll their kids there, maybe it's closer to home. Then they have that choice as well, if they want to send their kids here.
So what is the fees that we're, like what's the range of fees, let's say for private schools and for international schools?
private schools, you can expect around, there might be changes, but so far it's
Give me the range. Don't name
three-
schools and like somewhere around.
3K, sorry, 30,000.
This is for private schools.
Private schools, and for international schools usually be 130,
30K.
130,000.
Okay.
Okay, so it could be something like in the university range, university fees range, or sometimes higher. But private school is much lower, like 30K, 30,000.
Okay.
So you do, yeah. But again, like if you plan ahead a few years back, then.
So the 30K is the whole year for like, let's say, which grade?
Yeah.
Around which grade?
I would say the middle or the average.
So
the entire year.
there might be some lower, there might be some higher.
Yeah, but around there, I'll give you that the average is in the middle. Yeah, so the range is like less than 50K, and that is like more than 100K. So that's how some parents they go for it. But sometimes they haven't really looked at things more thoroughly. If they look at the curriculum and what this the 100+K offers, then they might think that would be more suitable for them, right? Especially if they prepare earlier. Yeah, and things can be arranged much earlier as well. And sometimes they don't know that these schools they have aids as well, like financial aids, and they can negotiate. You can negotiate the prices as well, especially if you have siblings. They are open for discounts, but of course they won't really offer that first. Everyone wants to be reasonable, right? So if you think reasonably, you explain to them your situation, and there could be things that you can work it out. With
So if we go by location, like where is let's say the top seller schools or the best schools like located? Is there a specific area, specific state, specific city that, let's say, there are, or are they like everywhere? It doesn't depend on a specific.
I would say it's quite scattered in Malaysia, but of course in KL and Selangor you would find most, and then in Johor. But schools like Rigid is in Kajang, it's in Selangor, and then Charter
Like you
House.
mentioned this school like 2 times now. Are you affiliated with them in any way, or?
I work with them. They're one of the schools that are
okay,
considered one of the top schools. Charter House.
Let's not name.
Okay,
let's
all right,
not bring
okay.
names, yeah.
Okay, little we'll skip it.
Unless they're sponsored, they're not sponsoring you.
No,
in any way.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Okay, so let's go over that question again. The specific
Yeah, so
location.
location, it's not like it, but mainly KL,
KL and Selangor.
and Selangor.
And Johor.
And Johor. So let's get Putrajaya and Cyberjaya is part of Selangor, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So you'll find some there as well, but mostly in KL and Selangor.
To the old generation, all the next generation are all they have like some kind of neurodivergency, you know. But it's always like this. Like the next generation, you have something wrong with you.
Because of the new studies.
Yeah, but they're not. There is nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Some might have like some.
It's much more like specific. It's much more refined, I would say, because previously like autism is like one branch, like one people recognize autism as like one thing, and then the
regarding
spectrum.
that, is there a specific schools for like autism, like let's say
Yes.
ADD, ADHD?
Yes, there are some schools.
Because like I remember some parents asked me about the autism specialty school.
Yeah, there are.
So
Yep.
what is that?
So some schools, the way that the schools offer their curriculum is, if you look at the teachers' qualifications, right? That's what they cover. Some teachers, they study, they major in the subjects that they're going to teach in the school later. Some teachers, they came from psychology background, psychology education. So sometimes they would have studied how to teach neurodivergent kids. So they are the teachers in these schools that specialize.
It depends on the spectrum, right?
Yeah. Some teachers whose major is more in neurodivergent education, so they can teach kids following their learning styles, their suitable learning and teaching methods.
So is there specific schools
Yes,
in Malaysia?
for autism, some schools they specialize for autism, and some they also provide the support for like ADHD and even like dyscalculia, dysgraphia. I think. Okay, it's okay. Yeah. So dyslexia. Yeah. So
dyslexia with kids. So
yes. So some schools they integrate that together in their curriculum. If they hire a teacher who has that background, and then they can offer. That support. So usually depends on the spectrum, right? Some kids they can enroll in international schools, and then they have additional classes with the teachers who have that background, who specialize in that. And sometimes they even have like therapists, their own like speech therapists. Some kids may need that, so it depends on the arrangement that the parents prefer and the bigger environment that they prefer, right? Some parents may really want to send their kids to international schools because of the environment, the facilities, and then if their kids fall into a spectrum, a neurodivergent spectrum, if they are like level 1 or level 2, they can still, be there and work it out, and then maybe have additional support. But if they fall into a spectrum that may need more support, then
they have
better,
special programs for that.
It's better for them to enroll in like autistic school. There are some schools that if you Google, you will find some.
An interesting story. One of my friends, he have a business model in the Middle East. He works in Kuwait and in UAE. He helps autism kids, boys or girls, to the parents to manage their symptoms and all that by teaching them horse riding.
Oh,
and
interesting.
by letting them in contact with the horse, because the horse have a specific type of emotions with humans, So, and I've seen that with my own eyes. Like the kids came, they don't do eye contact, they don't talk to anyone, they don't, But after a few sessions, they become more social in a way, Like you can see, like they can talk. They can, because the emotion bond that happens between the horse and the kid, I feel like the horse knows that this kid is special in a way. So, and when the kid's on top of the horse and he commands the horse like go left and go right, and the horse is like a majestic animal, so big and so strong, and he as a small kid he can control this big animal. So that was a very interesting concept that he was working on back in the Middle East, but I haven't seen it here a lot.
Yeah, it's very niche. It's quite. I think we never know.
It was very cheap. Like he did it to help them. Actually, I was a partner in that project also. So his idea was that it must be accessible to everyone, and he made it that way.
Oh, that's
and
so interesting.
we were losing money. Like I was trying to bring in investors, and he was fighting me a lot. Like. I was trying to develop, like, brother, we can make a lot of money for this. He was saying that no, this is not meant for us to make money from.
No.
So yeah, that was interesting. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Because when we speak about neurodivergence, right? Neurodivergent kids, especially, like because people are constantly trying to see what works best, and there are already data that like established studies that. For teachers who are teaching the ideal teaching methods, how to really help them learn the specific subjects that they're struggling to learn. So these things can add to that, right? The activities that support their confidence, their thinking process. Most of them are thinking very fast. Actually, I'm autistic. I'm autistic myself, yeah. So sometimes I struggle with like speed. I speak too fast. I think too fast. I cannot organize. So these things I try to learn myself. So I think what your friend is doing is really helping, especially kids who are still building, still trying to.
Yeah, he works with kids like 4 years until 8 to 10 years old. So in that age, like I saw it with he was talking about it, but when I saw it, like it was very interesting to me, and I went in and lost money on that deal.
Maybe
but it was very interesting.
There could be some tweaks in the business model, or you can still make profit from it, but maybe
it's making some profit, but not. I know that it can make more. But he doesn't want to commercialize it a lot.
Maybe partner with something relevant.
So at the end of the day, it's doing something good that I can see the good that it's doing. One question, like, do you think higher fees means better school?
Okay, let's look into that, right? So I would say not make an assumption, because among all these international schools, there are definitely some that have much higher fees, but let's not jump to conclusion that these are the best ones because they're higher. So look at what it covers, right? So I would say if you want a really good quality education, support and all that, it does come with a much higher fee. But again, look at what's most important to you, right? So your best choice could be somewhere in the middle or even in the lower end, price-wise, right? So it may not be the highest priced, but that could be the best education for your child, especially together with what they like most, maybe their interests. So you could even choose a curriculum based on their interests that they have already shown and their commitment to their interests, right? Some kids, they like things and then they get bored of it. Some kids, they really are committed to their interests and they really want to build on that. So if they cannot have a more niche education that starts much earlier before university, they might get upset later on, right? So especially kids who are more into like STEM subjects, so they may want a curriculum that do provide further coverage on the subject that they're interested in. So then the fees may not be exactly in that order, but usually it will come at the price that that.
So the price usually means the better school. Usually,
I would say so, but really look at it in a spectrum, right? So if you think of it generally, like higher price is better, then you might just go to that extreme, the highest price.
No,
so maybe that may not be the best for your child. So maybe it could be somewhere between there. So I would say the higher, So some schools, they may have a higher fees, but you may find that their curriculum or their facilities are not that satisfactory according to your standards or what your child is looking for. So your choice might be somewhere in between, or it could be somewhere in that price range as well.
So let's say if there was like 3 factors other than the price of the school, what factors are very important for the parents to pick the school? To pick the right school for their kids.
All right. So
other than the price, let's say 3 other factors.
The programs. Number one, I think the programs
that
curriculum
offered,
or the extra curriculum together with the curriculum. Subjects offered, some subjects go beyond the core subjects, right? So depending on what you want your child to have support for and exposure to, and the guided learning for, right? So teachers' background, education, and the ratio, teacher to student ratio. Because if you may not want your your child to be in a very crowded environment, in a very crowded classroom, and that may depend on your child and how you see it as well. Because some children, they are quite fine with a bigger class. So you can look at that, teacher to student ratio, and the teachers background. Usually international schools would hire teachers who are already enrolled in masters or they already graduated from masters or PhD, and then you can. Once you speak to the academic team, right, you would have some experience. You get a feeling of like what your child, who are going to be taking care of your child. So I think that is important. The people factor.
So does the school offer, like, can the parents go and sit and talk to the academic team?
Yes.
Over all of them. Like, I want to sit and talk to the students, each teacher. I mean.
We can make an arrangement.
That will teach my kids. I want to sit and for 1 or 2 hours and talk to them, to analyze them psychologically. Not me. I mean, like anyone. Like to get to know the teacher. Can they do that?
Well, we can arrange a session. Usually, the school tour would involve meeting the academic team, right? So it will depend on the availability, but we can make an arrangement for it. But when you mention to analyze them psychologically, I mean, you still need to be professional, of course.
No, I'm not. I'm not talking about myself. Like, I mean, usually when you sit and talk to someone, you will have a feeling of
who they are.
Generally, what type of person they are. So
of course, I mean, but of course, everything will be done professionally, and but of course, you need to have trust to the team as well, because they only hire people who already have screen and all that. So they only have the best of the best teachers. So. I mean, when I mentioned look at the teachers, you can look at their profiling, speak to them as coming from the place of trust, and at the same time, if you have any concerns or any questions that you want to raise, so to make sure that your child has the best support.
So, what are let's say some of the biggest mistakes that the parents make when they choose a school for their kids?
Rushing, not putting enough time. And not putting enough thought, right? So, and when you don't put enough thought into your selection, you may be distracted by the information that you're seeing about the schools and other kids' performance and whatnot. But you also have to really look into your child and where they're at and where they're gonna be in the next 5 years, 5 years, 6 years, maybe not 10. Okay, so when you have enough time, you have enough space to put a lot of thought into this process. So you will choose something that would make more sense for your child. So that sometimes also includes asking them questions, getting to know your child a little bit better. Because sometimes maybe the last time you spent with your child, maybe you were playing some games, maybe you haven't asked them about their interests yet. So maybe you want to know about the last book that you bought for your child. Do they actually like the books, and have they gotten the chance to read it? So something that could help you with that part as well.
Yeah.
So you won't rush. You may have lesser time, but if you're not rushing, that small window that you have may allow you to really be in touch with your selection and forward.
So what else?
Yeah, another mistake is that parents want to apply first before visiting the school, before meeting the academic team, because they have heard from their friends that they have sent their kids there, so they trust that would be the best choice. I would say that could potentially be a very big mistake, because what may work for your friend's child may not work for yours, right? Kids can have very different personalities, even if they are friends. And sometimes not just that, but development as well, pace, and that kind of thing. So you may want to really put more time to really focus on what your child needs and your plan as a family as well. And then really meet the academic team, right? Otherwise, it's like, you don't, if you don't put enough time to it, and then if there are any problems that happen after, then things would be much more complicated. Although, things can still be resolved, but, it would have been much more complicated.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say your friends send their kids to this school, and then you trust that would be a good choice. If things are aligned, that's good. But what if your child has different needs? What if you have a child that prefers another school that provides more coverage on the subjects that they're more leaning towards, like maybe something technology or whatever it is that they're more interested in, that your friend's child may not care much about, right? Or if they're more athletic, they may want the school with more support, sports-wise, and that kind of thing. So just the basic stuff. But if they're quite similar, then that could be a great choice. Especially if they already have friends, that could be a great choice. It will not always be a mistake, but as long as it's aligned with your goal as a family and for your child.
Are there any questions that the parents ask you and you think like they're not very important questions?
Personally, I find all questions that parents have are important, because what's important for you may not be important for the next person, and the same vice versa, right? So I would hear out everything that the parents ask. So we could address it. We could even ask the school if they haven't gotten the answer to that yet, because sometimes the questions that parents have, it could come from something that they read on the news or something that they've heard. So the parents' concerns are brilliant, because that could really help the teachers and the academic team to help their kids.
So do you think some schools, like sometimes they oversell themselves during admission?
Based on my experience, they tend to be very professional, and they don't overdo their marketing, because they have limitations as well. If they go overboard, that might upset or raise some concerns from the existing, the parents are already.
That's why you're very important in this case, in this field.
Yeah, because we have to be reasonable, because we're dealing with kids, right? We're dealing with families, so sometimes what may not be concerning for one parent could be very concerning for another parent, and some of the children can be more sensitive to some things compared to other students, right? So when it comes to marketing, when it comes to selling, sometimes it does involve a lot of coverage, like media coverage and that kind of things. And most schools, they're gonna prioritize what the parents feel about it. Some of them, they don't really do marketing as much, except for the events that they want to show and that kind of thing, because that could affect how the parents feel about the safety of their children and that kind of thing.
Yeah. What happens after admission?
Okay, so usually after the steps that I mentioned in the beginning, right? After they have reviewed all the requirements and now they apply. So they would have the time to hear back from the school could vary depending on the intake, depending on the capacity, right? So especially if you're transferring your child in the middle of the year, it depends on the capacity. And then it depends if they get back to you sooner. It could be because they have an immediate availability. Otherwise, they would have to work something out. So it depends on that. But usually it would be around 2 to 8 weeks, or it could take longer. It could take more than 1 year if the school doesn't have the capacity. And then usually the advice would be to apply to another school as a backup. So you don't just wait for one school to get back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So-
you could still cancel if you have the, if one school gets back to you, or if you want to wait to hear from all the schools that you applied to. Yeah.
Interesting. How long do you usually take for the schools to reply for the, or like for the admission? Like how soon should the parents apply to schools? Like, is there an average, like this amount of time?
Okay. So in a year, usually there would be 3 intakes.
Uh-huh.
In the middle, beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, the end of the year. But it really depends. Some schools, they may have more slots that are open, but usually it'd be that standard 3, like January, June, September, or something like this seasonal. It depends on the school. So earlier the better. It's always that.
Yeah, of course. And the mid-year, let's say the second admission is for the next year's admission, right? Or for the same year admission, how is it?
It will follow semester, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Most schools, they follow
Yeah.
semester. Some schools, because they don't really follow like January as a starting point. Unless you're sending your kids to public school, then we start from January. For most schools, they follow the year. And yeah, I think so. But let me double check on that.
Can the foreigners apply to public schools here?
I don't think the chance to get in would be high, but in some cases, they can still send their apply for it. But because public schools, they have a quota, so like all schools, they would have the capacity
okay.
that
Yeah,
they would
yeah.
have to manage, right? So because usually public schools are the locals would be prioritized. Let's say if they have a vacancy, they still have some capacity. Sometimes they do transfers as well. Like when I was at school before, there were like schools from that country, and then they arrange with that school, so the student can have student exchange program. But usually foreigners would send their kids to either private schools or international schools. It would work better with the curriculum and culture. And some schools, they provide more like the culture that you can expect from this school. So you can review the curriculum and that kind of thing first. Like some schools, but we don't want to mention the school names, right? But some schools, they provide more. But usually all schools would expose their children to diverse culture. So they would want students who can be around other kids.
This is a very important part. Like I like about the schools here, like it's diverse. Like my kids, let's say if we back in Kuwait or the Middle East, like it's mainly going to be the residents of that country.
Okay.
And most of the schools. So, but here, like in all the private schools and international schools, like you have a diversity of people.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I think that's very an important part for the kids to be like, developed, exposed, get to know that the world is big. There are a lot of people that you can get to know, different cultures, different people, different places.
And they have that much earlier on, before they start working. That's true. So because Malaysia itself is very open to people from all over the world, right? So I think that is a good point. So they start to learn how to respect others, how to see others, how to think from that side as well, not just from their own point of view, but all the different backgrounds, all the different experiences other kids are going through and that kind of thing. So they develop empathy, they develop, they get to expand their minds. So they do it habitually, but at the same time not abandoning themselves. They can think for themselves and think for others. So that the quality of being considerate with people can be developed much earlier. So that becomes their norm. So once they are older, they already live with that. They know that's how things work best.
Exactly. I think we cover the basic information that we need to cover. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mansur.
And if someone wants to get in touch with you or communicate you, how can they do that?
I think the best platform would be on LinkedIn. So you can just Google my name, Iman Karir, and you would see it.
Good.
So if you're on LinkedIn,
we will put the links and everything to your.
You can put my LinkedIn.
I think even like when we put it on Instagram or any other platform, we'll try to mention you or collaborate with you on that. So is there anything else you need to add about?
No, I think so far we covered a lot already. If anything, then we can follow up.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mansur.
Thank you very much.